So, dear friends, today the gospel really touched my heart, especially with my connection with my personal experience. So, a few days ago, when I was reading this gospel, it took some time for me to reflect on the word of the Lord, and I spent some time walking around in the park in the Wild Lake over there. And I recall one of the most difficult times I experienced. Especially when I was about to leave my whole family and friends, and also my relatives in Indonesia to begin my ministry here in the United States. As the first timers, I came with nothing, just with confidence. So it was difficult because I knew in the new place where I would go, here in the United States, there would be no relatives, neither friends, nor a person to whom I could rely on. So literally, I had nothing at the time. And it was also difficult for me to have a new friends because literally everything is completely new. So at the time I was confused, hesitant to go, and I was in the middle of two options at the time. Whether or not I had to go to continue and pursue my priesthood vocations. And after spending a couple of time in personal reflections and also personal discernment, eventually, I decided to go, and of course, I took all the consequences because in the new place where I would go, here in the United States, I have nobody. And until today, I don't have a family that comes to me, and I have no relative here. So literally, I'm by myself here, for sure with Father Mel as a senior priest to live with me. But in the beginning, it was difficult for me, just like I believe many of you, if you want to start something new in different place, different circumstances, even with a different language, you have to adjust with many things. And that's not really easy also, especially learning a new language. Whether in Spanish or in English or different language, it takes time because other people will treat us like a kid. So that's why it is not really easy and requires the humility also. So what made it so difficult for me to go and renounce all that I had was not only personal bond with my culture, where I used to live in Indonesia, but also with my personal attachment and our willingness to begin a new relationship with others and making self-adjustment with the different cultures and also circumstances. So for me, friends, family, and relatives are the biggest challenges because they're everything for me. So in my life, they have a special place. So because they give me unbreakable bonds, emotion in any way, that's why my attachment with my family was really close. So for this reason, being in comfort zone where everybody loved me, where I had affections with my family, my relatives, and anyone else is one of the most difficult times to be left behind. So I hope you will learn also someday when you make a new choice in your life, and then you will experience something new also, that sometimes it takes time to adjust. So 10 years ago when I made this decision whether or not to go, I had to leave, I was confronted exactly like what Jesus said in the gospel today. Whoever does not carry his own cross and come after me. And if anyone of you who does not renounce all his possessions cannot be my disciples. So this particular gospel, our gospel today, really connected and reminds me my personal experience at the time. That was 14 years ago when I left my Indonesia to come here, starting a new life with my priesthood vocations. So when I was pondering this particular passage from the gospel today, whoever does not carry his own cross and come after me, and if every one of you does not renounce all his possession cannot be my disciple. This particular gospel is pretty strong in my personal experience because in my personal meditations, I was surprised because it's been 14 years that actually I had gone through the process of what Jesus said in the gospel today. And I felt into this gospel, Jesus has spoken frankly and pretty tough for those who wants to make a radical decision to follow him. So you can connect also with your personal experience or personal connection with the Lord. How do you leave everything behind for the sake of the Lord? So what I learned into this gospel is that Jesus actually talks about the discipleship and also the cost of being disciple. It costs many things in our life. Whether or not we realize it, being a disciple of Jesus actually demands a total dedication and also commitment in our lives. And for this reason, in order to discern the spirit of discipleship, Jesus himself presented two parables. He compared the Christian life to a building project and also a king who went out for war. So these two parables give us a clue to understand that the cost of being disciple of the Lord is very costly. So in the first parable, Jesus mentioned being a disciple is just like someone who builds a tower. Before starting his work, he sits down and calculates the cost. If he does not have enough money to finish it, he would not begin the project. Otherwise, the project would come to an end before it is completed, and everyone would laugh at him. So it is also with the discipleship. In order to become the disciple of Jesus, we have to think intensively and take all the consequences seriously, because it is not temporary commitment only over certain years. So it is everlasting commitment which takes the rest of our lives. That's why into this gospel, Jesus said, being his disciple is difficult because it is not only demand total self-dedication, but also it needs our ability to take all the consequences. You can think about it seriously. Being a Catholic is not only for 5 years, 10 years. Being Catholic is for our life. Because Christianity, especially in Catholicism, is a way of life. It is our options to embrace and believe in Christ Jesus. Then we learn also from the second parable today. In the second parable, Jesus describes that the disciple is just like a king who went out for war against forces that are far more superior than his troops. So since it is a serious war, he must carefully calculate the cost. He must carefully consider his chances of winning the battle. If he does not have any chance or the risk too high, he must surrender unconditionally. So the same thing also with the Christian discipleship. Being disciple of the Lord means that we cannot serve two masters. We recall also in the different gospel that in the other gospel, especially the Gospel of John, you cannot serve two masters. The same thing also here, that a disciple must choose either to commit himself to withdraw himself. A disciple cannot stand halfway between both sides. In other words, I would say that if we want to become the disciple of Jesus, then we cannot be lukewarm, neither cold nor hot. It is a commitment. There are many inspirations that we can take from our life to understand the message today, because each one of you have a different experiences. For sure, you can apply your personal experiences in the context of today's gospel. The gospel today actually is pretty straightforward. We are invited to be the disciple, but discipleship requires consequences. And here it has a cost. It is not free. So let us put ourselves just like a king who went out for war, or someone who wants to build a tower into this gospel. If we do so, then it means that we have to make a decision to determine ourselves. We must make a decision if we are prepared to commit our living faith in Christ on a daily basis until the end. We must carefully also to consider all the factors related to our faith as Jesus himself expected into this gospel. Again, dear friends, I just want to underline the message of this gospel. The gospel gives us two different parables, but the point is very simple. It is about commitment and also the point that we need to follow Christ, we put into practice in our daily life. And to close these reflections, I would like to summarize briefly the message of today's gospel. Being a true disciple of Jesus, we must forsake all that we have so that we can follow him totally. We must put Jesus in our life above all others. Today in the gospel, when Jesus said that his disciples must hate father, mother, spouse or children, brother or sisters, this particular passage must be taken in the context of love expressions to the others. It means if anyone says, I love Jesus, but hates his fellow Christians, then he or she is a liar, because the one who does not love his fellow Christian, whom he has seen, cannot love God, whom he has not seen. Again, finally, for reflection today, let us take some time in our reflections and ask ourselves, have we been a good disciple of Jesus? And have we paid the cost to follow him? Total dedication and commitment to follow Christ is the cost that we need to pay.